I know, you can leave a comment, but I already know what I'm about to show you is the wrong way to sharpen this. But if you remember the episode a little while back where I had that industrial paper cutter, that was also the wrong way to do it. And the point is that there isn't really a right and a wrong way, and I want to use this episode and all the other ones to express to you that sharpening is there's fundamentals to sharpening, and when you can understand those, you can use the tools at your advantage to accomplish the job that you're trying to accomplish. I share that with you with the reality check and the disclaimer that if you're working on other people's equipment, you should never convey that you know something that you don't. And I'm a huge advocate for wide open and honest work. And if the owner of that tool is not willing to take a risk in you, then you give it back, and that's okay. In this case, like the other one with the industrial paper cutter, they were in a pinch, they needed some help. The owner of this blade didn't have a lot of options when he needed his blades sharpened, so he dropped them off, and I said, hey man, like I have some ideas just based on, we spoke a little bit about what the application was. I said, I have some ideas, like I could make something and I could try to do it with the equipment I have, but I'm fairly certain that if the person who's using a $20,000 or $30,000 tool purposely built to grind these would say I'm doing it wrong. And the guy said, like, give it a shot. So I did, and they came, and they worked. He sent me some video of it action after, and now they're back. So in this video, I'm going to show you what I built to sharpen these circular cutters. What's up, everybody? My name is Matt, and welcome to episode 40 of the Thursday Night Grind, where every Thursday night I come onto YouTube and I sharpen something on the bench at the American Edge, which is my knife and tool sharpening business. This episode, like most, are brought to you by the Guild of Professional Sharpeners, where we are building a community of people who are striving and working towards building their own knife sharpening business, where we teach the skills of sharpening and then we teach how to monetize those skills in the form of a business. You can learn more about that at guildofsharpeners.org. This week it has been bumping in the guild. It would take me way too long to try to share with you everything that's been going on, but some highlights that stick out to me are some articles that are helping us all get better. One was an awesome one that Rick's put together on ice skate sharpening. There is a whole nother rabbit hole to dive into, and if you think that sharpening ice skates is easy and simple, like everything, I would just like you to challenge that, and we are learning and getting smart on that. And then also a lot of us, it is hunting season. We are getting questions about broadheads. And fortunately, Bryce is a hunter and gave us the lowdown on sharpening or whether or not to sharpen broadhead arrows. So that's fun. As the community grows, like I have said, it is the value of everybody coming together, all helping each other and lifting each other up that makes the community inside the Guild of Professional Sharpeners so valuable. So check that out today. Now, let's get into how I'm going to sharpen this circular cutter. These are the blades we'll be working on, coming in at just a little bit over 4 inches in diameter. The way they are set up is they are beveled on either side here, and the cutting action happens right in the middle. You can see the mounting holes here for the tooling that it goes in. And then I did see a short video of these in action with paper just burning, or I guess, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how these are spinning, the paper's rolling by it, and there's a bunch of it going on. So that's basically it. So what we need to do is cut this bevel, and then refine it so we have a nice sharp. These are really steep too, right? So this is a durable edge, not going to be razor sharp, but we can still get a good edge on it. Let me show you how we do it. This is the rig that I built for doing these on the 1x30. You'll notice a channel going along either side coming out here to support a rotating motion here. So the idea there is when I set the angles with this part, this way the angle stays constant so I can come into the belt, do the grinding, come off the belt. The belt is going to do the spinning motion, which is going to, this thing spins, so that's how that is. So if you'll see it in action, but when this thing's spinning up, bring the blade into it, it'll spin up. I adjust the speed with my finger here so that this has relative motion to the belt, and that's how we get the grinding action. And then the blades, to get the blades to stay on here, I match the bolt pattern that is on the blades with this disc, and I put I epoxied magnets on here so that when you put this on, it stays on there. So now it spins in, I choke it here, touch the belt, come back, take this off, do the other side. Touch the belt, grind as much as we need, come off, and then bring the, the other thing is when I'm doing this, I can sight the apex of the cutting edge here, so I can make sure that I keep the cutting edge centered within my eyeball, which is pretty good, to the thickness of the material. We do, do each side a few times, do each blade on a coarse belt, so we have a nice edge, and then just stack them up, change the belt out, run them through, stack them up, change the belt out. So let's take a little bit of, let's see how this thing works in action. I don't leave this getup on my 1x30, so every time I bring it back on, I need to set the angles, and that's what I'm doing here, just the old Sharpie trick on the bevel, bring it up against the belt, give it a little chance to do its thing, and then check where the Sharpie is removed and adjust the angle if necessary. In this case it looked good enough, so we can commence grinding, and this is where the balance of friction with my finger to pressure on the belts is how we get the most desirable speed. Having done this a few times now, my preference is a relatively slow rotational speed and light pressure on the belt. If it gets to be too much, I'll just pull the wheel off the belt, break it, and then start over. Here we can get a little closer in on it. You can see that I'm using mostly the slack belt portion. I just found that the chatter against the platen was undesirable, so I lifted it up to grind on the flat belt, on the slack belt, I'm sorry. I also found later on as I was working through this, I would also use my other hand to break and slow it down a little bit. You can see here I'm checking for a burr with my thumb. This setup doesn't put up a huge burr, and I found that the more convenient way was to sight in the apex of the edge as I'm spinning it, and I could see when I was getting one edge to meet the other, and then I would sight in the center line so that, take a little bit off of whatever side is necessary so that the apex is centered on the thickness of the cutter. We'll get a top-down POV view for you here, and I'll just use this time to let you know that at first I tried to cut that wheel, my jig portion of it, on a drill press, but getting the rotational point concentric with those 3 mounting holes, I couldn't get it close enough on a drill press, so I had to draw it up and take it to a mill, get on a mill to get those dimensions just right so that it spins nice and straight like that. Once I get it settled in, it just kind of becomes a little monotonous where you move on to the next one. Do each side, go on to the next one. Given that the application of this tool is where this wheel, the one we're sharpening, it gets pressed up against a roller and then paper is fed between the two, there's quite a bit of pressure between this wheel and that roller. At least that's my understanding. I have not seen it in operation. But to increase the durability of that cutter, my idea was that we would refine the bevels to as much as I could. So the belt progression that I chose for this was the 60 grit, where I do most of the work to get the bevels established. And then I move on to the 120. Here I am swapping out some belts. Then the 220, 400, 600, and 800. And that leaves a pretty quite mirror finish on the bevels of those cutters, which I don't know, but I believe is a more refined edge than what they get off of a machine that does it the quote-unquote right way. And here's a little bit of footage of what they look like when they come off of the 800 grit belt. I hope you found that to be an interesting way to solve a problem that I was presented with. If you like that, if you think it's cool, if you learned anything, even if it's the wrong way to do something, I would ask that you do the things that cost you nothing and help me out, like subscribing to my channel, hitting the thumbs up, and roll down there and just leave a comment. It could be as simple as what the comment bots do and like, wow, what a great video. Whatever, cool, man. All of that helps me out, so I appreciate that. And the other thing you could do, which really helped me out, is purchase a t-shirt of my sharpening business. That's the front, that's the back. I will leave a link in the description where you can make a purchase of those. I have several tees left and a bunch of hoodies, so that would really help me out, and I'd love to send it out to you. So thanks so much. I will see you next week.